First Contact Protocol Captain Jake Morrison had handled many first contact situations during his 3 years aboard the exploration vessel Horizon, but nothing had prepared him for the sight of the Zephyrian ambassador gliding through the airlock. Her skin shimmered like liquid mercury under the ship's lights, and her forearms moved with an elegant grace that seemed to defy physics. Most striking were her violet eyes, that seemed to hold depths of ancient wisdom. "Welcome aboard the Horizon," Jake said, extending his hand in the traditional human greeting. "I'm Captain Morrison." The alien female froze, her large eyes widening in what appeared to be terror. She took 3 quick steps backward, her hands raised defensively. "Do not dare approach me with such intentions, human," she said, her voice melodic yet sharp as broken glass. "Touch me and you die." Jake immediately stopped, confused but respectful. "I apologize, Ambassador Lyrian. I meant no offense. It's simply how humans greet each other." Lyrian studied him carefully, her head tilting in a way that reminded Jake of a curious bird. "You truly do not know. Physical contact between unmated individuals of my species triggers a biological response that can be fatal to both parties." "Fatal?" Jake's eyebrows shot up. "I definitely didn't know that. Thank you for the warning." "Your species is remarkably ignorant of galactic customs," Lyrian replied, though her tone had softened slightly. "Yet you show wisdom in heeding warnings. This is unexpected." Jake couldn't help but smile. Humans are full of surprises. We're adaptable. If nothing else, over the next hour, as they toured the ship, Jake found himself increasingly fascinated by the Zephyrian ambassador. She moved through the corridors like a dancer, her forearms gesturing gracefully as she explained her mission to establish trade relations between their species. Her knowledge was vast, covering everything from quantum mechanics to interspecies psychology. "Your ship is crude but functional," she observed, running one of her hands along the corridor wall without actually touching it. "Human engineering favors brute force over elegance." "Sometimes brute force is exactly what you need," Jake replied with a grin. "We prefer to call it robust design." Lyrian paused, studying his expression. "You find humor in criticism. Most species become defensive. Criticism from someone as intelligent as you? That's just free consultation." For the first time since boarding, Lyrian's lips curved in what might have been a smile. "You are not what I expected from the reports, Captain Morrison." "What did you expect?" "Barbarism, aggression, the usual human stereotypes that circulate through the galaxy." Jake's expression grew serious. "We can be those things when threatened, but we can also be curious, protective, and surprisingly gentle. It depends on how we're treated." Something shifted in Lyrian's violet eyes as she regarded him. "Then let my touch be worth it," she whispered, so quietly Jake almost missed it. "Excuse me?" Lyrian straightened, her diplomatic mask sliding back into place. "Nothing, Captain. Shall we continue the tour?" But Jake had heard her words, and something in her tone made his heart race with possibilities he didn't dare contemplate. Dangerous attraction. 3 days into Lyrian's stay aboard the Horizon, Jake found himself making excuses to be wherever she was. During her meetings with the ship's science team, he lingered nearby. When she studied in the observation deck, he coincidentally needed to check the navigation systems. He told himself it was standard protocol for hosting diplomatic visitors, but the truth was far more complicated. Lyrian seemed equally drawn to his presence. She would ask him technical questions about ship operations that she could have easily asked his crew. She requested personal escorts to areas of the ship she could have navigated alone. And sometimes, Jake caught her watching him with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. "Captain," she said during one of their evening walks through the ship's arboretum, "may I ask you a personal question?" "Of course." "Do humans form emotional attachments quickly?" Jake considered his answer carefully. "Some do, others take time." "Why do you ask?" Lyrian stopped beside a flowering earth rose, her hands hovering near the petals without touching. "My species bonds for life. We choose our mates through a complex ritual of mental and physical compatibility. But the choice, once made, is permanent." "That sounds both beautiful and terrifying," Jake admitted. "Indeed." She turned to face him fully. "What terrifies me, Captain?" is that I find myself drawn to someone with whom bonding would mean death. The admission hung in the air between them like a live wire. Jake felt his breath catch. Lyrian, I know it is impossible, she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. Yet I cannot stop thinking about what it would feel like to touch you, to truly connect with another being without fear. Jake stepped closer, maintaining the careful distance. They had both learned to preserve. Maybe there's a way. Your people are advanced in biotechnology. Could there be some kind of treatment or modification? Lyrian's laugh was bitter. You would ask me to change my fundamental biology for the possibility of touch? I would ask you to explore every option before giving up on something that feels this right. Her violet eyes searched his face. You feel it too, then. This impossible pull between us every second I'm near you, Jake confessed. I've never wanted to touch someone so badly while knowing it could kill us both. Lyrian extended one of her hands, palm facing Jake's. He raised his own hand to mirror hers, maintaining a hair's breadth of distance between their skin. The air seemed to crackle with tension. In my culture, she said softly, we have a saying, the most precious flowers grow in the most dangerous gardens. Humans have something similar, Jake replied. We say nothing worth having comes easy. They stood there, hands almost touching, both understanding the metaphor they were creating, so close to connection, yet separated by biology itself. There might be a way, Lyrian said suddenly, her voice filled with a hope that scared them both. The Zephyrian Research Station on Kepler 4b has been working on biocompatibility modifications. For diplomatic purposes, it's experimental, dangerous, and has never been tested between our species. Jake's eyes lit up. How dangerous? The failure rate is 60%. Those who survive the process but remain incompatible face permanent neurological damage. And if it works, Lyrian's smile was radiant and terrified. Then touch becomes possible. True connection becomes possible. Jake didn't hesitate. Then, that's where we're going. Jake, you cannot possibly watch me, he said. And there was something in his voice that made her believe him. Something uniquely human in its stubborn determination to achieve the impossible. For the first time in her long life, Ambassador Lyrian understood why humans had become such a force in the galaxy despite their relative youth as a spacefaring species. They simply refused to accept that anything was truly impossible. The Choice Zephyrian Research Station orbited Kepler 4 to be like a jewel against the cosmic darkness. As the horizon approached, Jake could see the elegant spiraling architecture that marked advanced Zephyrian engineering. Everything about their technology spoke of harmony and flow, so different from human designs that prioritized function over form. Dr. Vex will meet us at the docking bay, Lyrian explained, her four hands dancing nervously over her ceremonial robes. He has been my friend since childhood. If anyone can help us, it is him. Jake noticed the tremor in her voice. Having second thoughts? Third and fourth thoughts, she admitted. Jake, what we are considering, it changes everything. If the procedure fails, we die. If it succeeds, but we are incompatible, we face a lifetime of knowing we destroyed our natural biology for nothing. Jake took a step closer, maintaining their careful distance. And if it succeeds and we are compatible, Lyrian's violet eyes shimmered. Then we become something new. Neither fully Zephyrian nor human, but something between. There is no precedent for such a thing. The docking procedures completed with typical Zephyrian efficiency. Dr. Vex met them as promised, his silver skin marked with the ritual scars that indicated his status as a master geneticist. His 6 eyes studied Jake with unconcealed curiosity. So this is the human who has captured our ambassador's heart, he said in accented English. You understand the risks you both face. We understand, Jake replied firmly, understanding and accepting our different things. Come, let me show you what we have learned. The laboratory was a wonder of bioorganic technology. Living walls pulsed gently, providing both structure and computational power. Tanks filled with luminescent organisms served as memory storage for genetic data. At the center of it all stood a device that looked more like art than science, its crystalline structure rotating slowly in midair. The bioharmony chamber, Dr. Vex explained. It analyzes genetic compatibility at the quantum level and if successful, modifies both subjects to create a bridge between their biologies. What kind of modifications? Jake asked. For Lyrian, we would need to suppress the lethal response to alien touch, while maintaining her essential Zephyrian characteristics. For you, we would enhance your nervous system to safely interface with her biology. Lyrian studied the device with growing unease. Vex, the risks are considerable, he finished, but not impossible to overcome. Your genetic profiles show remarkable compatibility for such different species, almost as if fate intended for you to find each other. Jake and Lyrian exchanged glances. How long do we have to decide? Jake asked. The alignment of bioresonance fields optimal for the procedure occurs once every lunar cycle. The next window opens in 2 hours. 2 hours to decide whether to risk everything for the possibility of touch. Jake found himself thinking of his sister back on Earth, who had always told him that love was about finding someone worth taking impossible risks for. I need to contact my crew, Jake said. If something goes wrong, they need to know what happened, and I must perform the ritual of choice, Lyrian added. In my culture, such a decision requires formal acknowledgement of the path being taken. Dr. Vex nodded gravely. I will prepare the chamber, but remember, once the process begins, there's no stopping it. You will emerge changed or not at all. As they separated to make their preparations, Jake caught Lyrian's hand hovering near his. No matter what happens, he said, I want you to know that meeting you has been worth every risk. Even death, she whispered. Jake's smile was fierce with determination, especially death, because some things are worth dying for, and you're definitely one of them. In that moment, Lyrian understood that she had not just fallen for a human, but for humanity itself. Their reckless courage, their refusal to accept limitations, their willingness to sacrifice everything for connection. She had found her mate not just in Jake, but in the entire beautiful, dangerous, impossible species he represented. The choice was made. Transformationed bioharmony chamber hummed with energy that seemed to resonate in Jake's bones. He and Lyrian stood on opposite sides of the crystalline structure, separated by mere feet, but still unable to touch. Dr. Vex monitored readings on displays that looked more like living art than scientific instruments. Are you ready? Dr. Vex asked, his 6 eyes reflecting concern and fascination in equal measure. Once I activate the sequence, the chamber will envelope both of you in biomodification fields. The process cannot be reversed. Jake looked at Lyrian across the chamber. Her violet eyes held a mixture of terror and determination that he suspected mirrored his own expression. Together, he asked. Together, she confirmed. Dr. Vex initiated the sequence. The chamber filled with a golden light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Jake felt warmth spreading through his body, starting from his skin and moving inward. It wasn't painful, exactly, but it was unlike anything he had ever experienced. Every cell in his body seemed to be awakening, changing, adapting. Across from him, Lyrian's mercury-like skin began to glow with an inner light. Her forearms spread wide as if embracing the transformation. When she looked at him, her eyes had begun to shift color, cycling through shades of violet Jake had never seen before. I can feel you, she whispered, her voice somehow reaching him. Despite the energy crackling between them, your emotions, your thoughts, the modification is creating a neural bridge. Jake gasped as he suddenly became aware of sensations that weren't his own. Lyrian's wonder at his human stubbornness, her fear of losing herself in the process, her deep, abiding affection for him that went beyond physical attraction to something approaching reverence. For his species' impossible optimism. This is what connection feels like for your people? He asked, amazed. Deeper than we have ever achieved. She replied, the chamber is not just making us compatible, it is creating something entirely new. The transformation reached its peak. Jake felt his nervous system expanding, developing new pathways that could interface with Zephyrian biology. His skin became more sensitive, able to detect the bioelectric fields that surrounded all living things. Most remarkably, he found he could sense Lyrian's emotional state as clearly as his own. For Lyrian, the changes were equally profound. The lethal response to alien touch faded away. replaced by an enhanced ability to share sensation and emotion through contact. Her understanding of human psychology deepened, allowing her to appreciate not just Jake's individual character, but the broader human concepts of hope and determination that drove his species. Bioharmony achieved, Dr. Vex announced, his voice filled with awe. Genetic compatibility established, neural bridging successful. You are both remarkable. The golden light faded. Jake and Lyrian stood changed, their bodies still there, own but fundamentally altered. For the first time since they had met, the air between them held no danger. May I? Jake asked, extending his hand. Lyrian reached out with one of her own. When their fingers touched, both gasped at the intensity of the connection. It was not just physical contact, but a sharing of essence. Jake felt Lyrian's centuries of loneliness dissolve in the warmth of human companionship Lyrian experienced. Jake's fierce protective instincts and his species' unshakable belief that any problem could be solved with enough determination. It worked, she breathed. Intertwining their fingers, we can touch. Jake pulled her closer, marveling at the sensation of her skin against his. It was warm and smooth, but more than that, it carried information. Her contentment, her wonder, her growing love for him flowed through the contact like music. What are we now? He asked. Dr. Vex approached them, his instruments recording every moment. You are the first successful bioharmony pairing between humans and Zephyrians. Your children, should you choose to have them, will carry traits of both species. You have become pioneers of a new form of existence. Lyrian looked up at Jake, her violet eyes bright with tears of joy. We are something that should not exist, yet here we are. Humans specialize in things that should not exist, Jake replied, cupping her face gently in his hands. We've built cities in the desert, traveled to the stars, and now we've learned to touch the untouchable. Their first kiss was electric in the most literal sense. The bioharmony between them created a feedback loop of sensation and emotion that left them both breathless. It was connection beyond anything either species had ever experienced individually. They had risked everything for the possibility of touch, and they had won something far greater than they had ever imagined. New beginnings 6 months after the bioharmony procedure. Jake stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned vessel Unity, watching Earth grow larger in the viewports. Beside him, Lyrian traced patterns on his arm, her touch still, sending pleasant signals through their shared neural connection. The sensation would never grow old. Nervous about meeting my family? Jake asked, covering her hand with his own, terrified. Lyrian admitted, your species judges quickly, and I am still very obviously alien. Jake laughed, the sound carrying through their bond and easing her anxiety. My sister Riley is going to love you. She's been pestering me for years to find someone who could match my stubborn streak. The Unity was itself a symbol of what they had begun, jointly designed by human and Zephyrian engineers. It combined the robust functionality humans preferred with the elegant efficiency of Zephyrian technology. The crew was mixed species, with bioharmony procedures becoming increasingly common as more couples followed Jake and Lyrian's example. Dr. Vex reports that the success rate has improved to 85%, Lyrian said. Reading from a data pad, 17 more couples have undergone the procedure successfully. And the Galactic Council's response to our mission report. Lyrian's expression grew complex, mixed. Some species see bioharmony as evolution. Others view it as contamination of pure genetic lines. The Crexian Empire has formally protested human expansion through biological assimilation. Jake shrugged, unconcerned. Let them protest. What we have can't be stopped by politics. It was true. The connection between bioharmonized pairs created bonds stronger than any traditional marriage or mating ritual. Couples reported not just emotional compatibility, but enhanced problem-solving abilities, shared intuition, and a form of communication that transcended language barriers. The terraforming colony on New Geneva has requested a bioharmony specialist, Lyrian continued. They want to establish the first mixed-species settlement designed from the ground up for interspecies families interested in a change of assignment. Jake asked. Lyrian's smile lit up her entire face. Building something new with you? Always. A chime announced their approach to Earth's orbital station. Through the viewport, Jake could see the massive structure that served as humanity's gateway to the stars. Ships from dozens of species docked at its ports, evidence of how quickly his people had integrated into galactic society. "Captain Morrison," came a voice over the comm. "This is Earth Station Control. Welcome home. Good to be back, Control," Jake replied. "Requesting docking bay assignment for diplomatic vessel Unity. Bay 7 is clear for approach. And Captain, congratulations on the bioharmony success. The whole station's been following your story." Jake felt Lyrian's amusement through there. "Bond, famous already," she teased. "We're pioneers," he reminded her. "History tends to remember the first people to do impossible things." As the Unity settled into its berth, Jake reflected on the journey that had brought them here. A simple diplomatic mission had become something far greater. They had not just found love across species lines, they had proven that the barriers between different forms of life were not as insurmountable as everyone believed. "What's next for us?" Lyrian asked, her forearms wrapping around him in the way he had grown to love. Jake looked out at the stars visible through the stations. Massive windows. Somewhere out there were other species, other impossible connections waiting to be made. Humanity's gift to the galaxy wasn't just their technology or their fighting spirit, but their absolute refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. "Next," he said, pulling her closer, "we show the galaxy that love doesn't recognize species boundaries. We build that colony on New Geneva. We raise children who carry the best of both our worlds. And we prove that humans don't just survive among the stars. We help others thrive there too." Lyrian's response came not through words but through their bond, a wave of love, determination, and excitement for the future they would build together. Touch had led to connection. Connection had led to transformation. And transformation would lead to a galaxy where the phrase "impossible love" became just another challenge for humanity to overcome. In the end, that was what humans did best. They turned the impossible into the inevitable, one stubborn, determined step at a time.